it'll be chaos for the next month. And I've been off social medias for a while, mate, but I got back on. There's a fair bit that goes out there at the moment, so that's all a bit of fun. But it'll play in for the next few weeks. Ballots will start going out next week, and it all happens very quickly because history tells you majority of people vote within the first week of receiving their ballot, which will be next week. So sort of come end of September or even before that, the race is pretty well done, and the voting actually doesn't go off until the 18th of October. But all postal votes. So traditionally, pretty low voter turnout, as we've spoken about previously on here.
Yeah, that's such a weird thing. You got 40,000 people and you have like 8,000 people vote.
Yeah, well, voting people in Bunbury, it's about 26 or 7,000 now, and it'll be you get about a 30% voter turnout, so it'll be somewhere between 8,000 and 9,000 voters, I'd suggest. There's a little bit more for a mayoral one, but yeah, they've also changed it to preferential voting, which makes things very differently. Previously it was first past the post, and this time it's
that's like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep.
Okay.
So, and if what then happens if you don't meet the quota, so it's quite simple with the mayoral vote. You need to get 50% of the vote. So if it's 40%, 30%, 30%, well, that wouldn't work that well because it'd have to be 40, 31, 29. The 29% votes person would drop out, and their next votes, whoever voted second on their thing, would go to the next ones until someone got to 51%.
Interesting. Yeah, right. So does that make it? How do you feel about that? What would you prefer?
Well, obviously the last election we did was first past the post. Look, preferential voting has got some haters and some lovers to it. It's trying to say that, if you had X amount of candidates, like at the last election, for example, 4 years ago, there was 11 candidates. So, I got elected with whatever it was, 700 votes or whatever it may be. The argument is you got elected with 5% of the vote. It was more than anyone else.
Yeah.
But so the argument for preferential voting should be saying, well, those votes, take the lowest ones out, and eventually someone got up to 50%, 51%. The difficulty can be you can get people running on a ticket and basically saying, oh, well, and the classic example had happened in Geraldton 2 years ago because they had a mayoral election 2 years ago. The incumbent, the current sitting mayor, pretty divisional factor. I'm sure Shay wouldn't mind me saying that. He's quite loud and open, but he's been very popular in Geraldton for a number of years, been re-elected a number of years.
Yep.
There was 4 candidates running. His deputy mayor ran against him. His ex-wife ran against him.
No way.
And a political opposition ran against him. So it was quite clear it was him and 3 other people who were very strongly opposed to him.
Yeah.
He won the popular vote quite convincingly. I think he won 40% of the vote.
Yep.
But all the other preferential voting vote to the deputy mayor, so the deputy mayor got elected, even though he polled less votes as a first choice.
Wow.
So that's where the argument for preferential can go, going, well, this guy got elected, yet he wasn't the first choice for the majority of people. Anyway, it is the case. It's optional preferential, which is another take on it. So you can vote 1, 2, 3, but you can just put 1, and that way, if your number 1 doesn't get in, no preference votes are awarded. Yep. So rather than, as that then starts, well, you don't need to get 51% of the vote now, you only got to get 50% of the vote. And that might mean that if everybody just voted one time, for example, we go back to the example, 40, 30, 29, if everyone only voted one time, well, the 40% person would be elected anyway. So,
all right, then does that not play an advantage to the person who's in the top position?
An advantage as a...
So say the slip is up the top, it's, Jaysen, Gabby, Michelle. Mm-hmm. Would that not give the person at the top, because there's going to be a lot of people that do have fucking
votes,
1, 2, 3,
Hopefully not, because I'm third.
No, it doesn't make any difference.
No. That's what they call a donkey vote, right? Where someone who doesn't care, just ticks the first name.
Yeah.
It definitely might be a bit of it. I'm not sure how much it plays into it, because it's not compulsory voting. So I think when they do that at state and federal elections, when you've got to vote 10 times and there's such a big number, they're like, this is too hard. Yeah, just go 1. That's why they do the how to vote cards and try and convince people to get their preferences in there. Yep. But in local elections, the 30% of people voting, you think they don't need to do it. So you think the only reason they're going to vote if they care and they're interested, they should read it. It may well impact. And if you look back at history, for whether it's in mayor or council, the percentage of whether the person won, whether they're in position 1 or 8, I don't think it would matter that much. Whether it might have a small impact, but it's probably more when you get to something like a council where there's 14 names and all of a sudden same thing, you go get all the way to the back, you might read one blurb and say, oh, that's really good, and then give them a vote, and then get to the very end and go, oh, that person's pretty good too. But, that people will decide that as they go through, and that's why there's other different campaigning material that people will try and do to convince them to vote for them.
I do think the fact that because it's not essential, and if you want to vote, you're going to go to the effort of filling out the thing and posting it, or you're going to go to the place and fill out the thing. You're going to I want this dude to win, or I want this dudette to win.
Dudette, it's much better phrase there, mate. Whatever it may be, and look, at the end of the day, that'll be determined and they'll work through it. But encouraging one way or another, mate, to your listeners to vote. It'd be great if we had a situation where voting numbers did go up, because it is important. We're seeing a lot at the moment. There's a whole lot of talk going on social media about doing this and doing that. Well, I really hope all those people who are making making comments and within every right to are also getting out there and voting, so their vote is heard.